Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC ABC 3 or UFC Fight Night Ortega versus Rodriguez or UFC Long Island, whatever the hell this card is called. That's what we're going to go over this week. I got something on my shoulder. At the end of the day, again, make sure you give this video a like, go over to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, give every platform a follow, a subscribe, and as always, smash that like button. Super quick review of last week's card. We have a bad tendency of going 4 and 6. I don't know what this is, but it's continuing. Hoping to finally get that 6 for 6 street stretch again, but we will see. Jared Vandera did let us down, but we did have quite a few dogs come through for us. So, tomatoes. You lose a lot, but you win some dogs. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, we're just looking to always do better. And this card is a really excited card on a fan perspective, betting perspective. The better these cards are, the harder they are to bet, because there's a lot of great fights and where a lot of great people are fighting each other, kind of the unstoppable force going against an immovable object ordeal. But I'll do our best to make the correct read when it comes to these. So let's go ahead and jump right into the card again. It's a 12 fight card, a pretty decent one here, especially with it being an ABC card. You would assume UFC is trying to highlight some stuff on a bigger platform. So let's get it. There's great fights on here, but the first few are not those. The first one being Jessica Penne at plus 120, going up against Emily Ducati at minus 140. Over 2.5 is minus 195, under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's go ahead and start with Jessica Penne, because I think she's trash. She has a lot of bad qualities about her. First and foremost, well, you know what? We'll start with the positive. She will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight, and she is a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's all I got for Jessica Penne. On the flip side, she's 39 years old, sketchy. She had some PED problems in the past, sketchy. She's very low volume, and although she's been in the game forever, she still can't really strike. She still can't really wrestle, and she gets hit a lot more than she dishes out. Even looking at her wins, Karolina Kowalkiewicz gifted her a win. All she has is jiu-jitsu, and for whatever reason, Karolina took her down and then just sat there in her guard, and she was able to armbar her. That was just poor game planning by Karolina. Lupita, it was Lupi's debut, and Jessica didn't even win the fight. She just backpacked her for a while and landed 0 strikes. So I don't know what was going on with that. It was a split loss for Lupi. I didn't think Jessica deserved that nod, but it is what it is. Loss to Danielle Taylor is not aging well. Loss to Jessica Andrade is fine. Loss to Joanna Jędrzejczyk is fine. Beating Ronda Marcos, not the greatest aging win. Loss to Michelle Waterson is fine. So at the end of the day, she hasn't beat anyone. The best person, although she's been in the UFC forever, she's been around since 2014. The best person she's beat is Ronda Marcos. Technically Lupi, but I don't think she won that fight. On the flip side, it's tough to say because her losses to Jessica Andrade and Joanna and Carla, no fault there. So it's kind of a weird catch-22 going on here. But at the end of the day, she's 39, she's hittable, and she has no striking. So that 3-inch reach advantage may not come into effect if she doesn't know how to use it. On the flip side, Emily's a decent striker. She is also pretty low volume, and it will be her UFC debut, so that scares me. On the positive, she is 28 years old, so just entering her prime. She also has some pretty decent losses. You'll see her record here is 11-6. And even though it's her UFC debut, she has already fought Danielle Taylor. She lost to Kanako Murata, who's in the UFC. She lost to McFarlane, who's killing it over in Bellator. She lost to McFarlane twice. And she went the distance, one of those, and the other one she lost in a 5th round armbar. I think she was doing pretty well in that fight. She lost to Emily Whitmire, who used to be in the UFC, but even though it's not a good loss, it was her first ever fight, and Emily was in the UFC at one point. So she has fought from some pretty decent competition, even though she's making her debut here. Again, her bread and butter is her striking. She likes to pressure and she likes to strike, so that kind of nullifies that 3-inch reach advantage if she's in Jessica's face the entire time. And she is a better striker. Her jiu-jitsu on paper is a black belt, but you don't see much of it, and we have seen her submitted in the past. So that's pretty interesting that on paper she's a black belt. But her wrestling's pretty good, especially her wrestling defense. I want to say Murata went like 6 of, what was it? She went 3 of 15 or something like that on takedowns. And Murata's a very, very, very good wrestler. So I don't think Jessica Monet will be able to take her down. So at the end of the day, if you're the better striker and the other girl can't take you down, I am going to lean your way. I do like Emily quite a bit, but I can't make her a lock or anything because it is her UFC debut. And these people do have a tendency to freeze up in their first fight. So the pick is going to be Emily. The bet is going to be Emily. But I'm not going to throw her in a ton of parlays, maybe just 1 or 2, because minus 140 isn't bad value there. Next fight of the night is, again, not the greatest fight here, but it's a pretty intriguing one, in all honesty. We have Dwight Grant as a minus 155 favorite going up against Dustin Stolfus at plus 135. Over under set at 1.5, also interesting. Over 1.5 is minus 190. Under 1.5 is plus 155. Let's start with Dwight, because Dwight has pretty good striking. He hits kind of hard. He's a little lower volume. I don't like that at all. He doesn't throw anything down the middle. All he throws is these looping wild hooks. I don't like that at all. He's 37 years old. I don't like that at all. His wrestling, it shows a 68% takedown defense, but when you look at the people he's fought, Sergey, not a wrestler. Trinaldo, not a wrestler. Daniel Rodriguez, not a wrestler. Stefan Sukulich, not a wrestler. Alan Juboin, not a wrestler. Zach Otto, not a wrestler. Carlo Perozzo, I don't even know who that is. And then his contender series fight against Tyler Hill, who I also don't know who that is. So he has not fought one wrestler. So the fact that he has 68% takedown defense is a little sketchy. Again, he's 37, so he's towards the end of his career here. And he's moving up a weight class. All these fights are at 170. He is moving up to 185 here, so that has me a little bit of a concern as well. He does have a 2-inch reach advantage here, and he is the better striker, so I do like that. The better striker with the reach advantage is great. It really comes down to his takedown defense. He hasn't fought a wrestler, so is he going to be able to stay on his feet? The good news for him is that Dustin's not the greatest wrestler on earth, nor is he the best striker on earth. He has pretty decent losses, though. Like, he is someone that's 0-3 in the promotion, so he has that plus sign next to his name. But Kyle Dawkins is a pretty good fighter. And Kyle Dawkins was able to kind of destroy him, in all honesty. But Kyle Dawkins is also a grappler, because Dustin Stolfus is not a striker by any means, but he can grapple. He is a black belt on the ground. So, they had him up against someone who is just as good on the ground, but a better striker. So Kyle Dawkins destroyed. Then he matched him up again. They matched him up against Rodolfo Vieira. Rodolfo Vieira, we know the black belt hunter, is probably one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners, was taken down and submitted there late in the third. But the striking was 50-50 on the feet. But again, he fought another grappler. Gerald Meerschaert, not the greatest on the feet, nor is Dustin. Held his own on the feet, was winning that entire fight in Gerald's guard, was taking over. Like, Gerald had some pretty slick submissions, but Dustin showed he was a black belt and was able to get out of a lot of quick arm bars and such, but did eventually, even though he was winning the fight, did eventually get caught with a rear naked choke in the third round. So we have a tendency here to get caught in the third round, but have a tendency to be winning the fight, and those aren't bad fighters. Dawkins, Vieira, and Gerald aren't terrible. They're not the best, but they're not bad. And they're all grapplers. We've never seen Dustin with the grappling advantage. So he is low volume on the feet. He is hittable on the feet. But what it really comes down to is, how is his wrestling? He did get a few takedowns against Gerald, but Gerald also doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. So it really comes down to, if this is a striking affair, Dwight Grant is going to win. If it's a grappling affair, Dustin Stolfus is going to kill him. It's wrestler versus striker. I will always take the wrestler in that instance, especially if there's plus money. I don't know how good Dustin's wrestling is, but we're sure as hell going to find out. So the pick is going to be Dustin, in all honesty. The bet, I like Dustin as a live dog, but I also like the over. I like the over 1.5 a lot. And I like the fact that Dustin has never been knocked out in MMA. and it's set at 1.5. I like that quite a bit. I don't think he's just going to take down Dwight and tap him out right away. He seems to be more position over submission on the ground with Dustin. So I do like the over, and I do like Dustin, the bigger man and the wrestler, as a dog play. All right, next fight of the night is a pretty interesting one here, one that's kind of starting to confuse me. We have Dustin Jacoby with the line going down. I had it at -135 plus 115 for Dawoon Jung. I checked earlier today, and I had Dustin Jacoby as like a -120 favorite. Now there is Dawoon Jung money coming in. The over/under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -135. Under 2.5 plus 105. Let's start with Dustin Jacoby. He was someone that I thought I wanted to fade, but has been proving me wrong left and right. He does have a kickboxing background. You know him as someone that was in MMA. He was in the UFC, got cut, went over to Glory Kickboxing and just destroyed over there in Glory Kickboxing. So he is a high level striker. He has high volume, especially for 205. His jiu-jitsu, it's a little questionable. And his takedown defense is at 58%. So that's not the greatest number there, but his cardio does seem to check out. All in all, since he came back to the UFC, beating Justin Ledet is a cakewalk, in all honesty. Ty Flores, cakewalk. Maxim Grisha, not a cakewalk. Good win for him. Good win. Maxim is a little underrated, in my opinion. Draw to Ion Cutelaba. Cutelaba's not bad. And Cutelaba won the first 2 rounds, and then Jacoby had that cardio, and he came out and 10-8'd in the third and forced a draw. He's one of these guys that kind of uses cardio as a weapon. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he has a lot of volume. He'll poke and poke and poke at you. Darren Stewart by knockout, that was a good win. Darren's all right. He's not the greatest, but still. John Alon, not the greatest competition, but still a win's a win. And then I love the Michael, God, I can never say his name, Michael Olins and Chuk fight, because I had absolutely no idea that Dustin was hurt going into that fight. He had some sort of serious leg injury. So I put a lot of money on Dustin that night because I know Michael likes to strike. Dustin was able to get a W while hurt. So I did like what I saw, especially with a bad wheel, to go out there and beat someone like Mikey O. It was a pretty good win. On the flip side, we have Dawoon Jung. He also wants to strike, in all honesty. I said Jacoby has a lot of power, but a lot of volume, but not a lot of power. Dawoon Jung is the complete opposite. When he hits you hard, but it's just a matter of how much he hits you. His jiu-jitsu seems okay. His wrestling is the thing in question, as well as his schedule. So even in the UFC, he has fought Kennedy Nzechukwu, who's not the greatest. I know he looked fine against Carl Roberson last week, but that's Carl Roberson. William Knight, again, hasn't looked the greatest as of late. And then a draw with Sam Alvey. Sam Alvey is not the greatest. He's lost like 6 straight. And then Mike Rodriguez is not the greatest either. He's been cut from the promotion. And then Kadis Ibragimov, I can never say his last name. He also has been cut from the promotion and might have been one of the worst light heavyweights in history. So he hasn't exactly fought the best competition. And then even prior to the UFC, these guys are 6-1, 4-0, 0-3, 8-6, 0-0, 5-6, 0-2, 16-10, 3-3. Like, they're not the shiniest records on paper. So yeah, he's going out there and he's getting knockouts left and right and arm triangles. But if you're fighting shitty people, I mean, it's not hard to do. On the flip side, the reason people are choosing Jung is because, again, he does hit harder, and he's showing a crazy, crazy efficient wrestling game. That's because he fought William Knight, and he got 8 takedowns in the William Knight fight because he realized William Knight, for whatever reason, could not stop a trip. He did the same inside trip over and over and over and over, and William Knight could not figure it out and could not stop it. It's kind of like Madden playing when you're doing like a screen pass that the other person can't stop. It's the exact same scenario. He just kept spamming the same play over and over. So it did skew his numbers a ton. I have not seen a lot of wrestling in any other fight tape. Again, he seems okay on the ground, but William Knight also got up. For him to get 8 takedowns, that means William was getting up. And Jacoby is a very good get-up game. So all in all, his cardio is fine. He hits hard. He can utilize BJJ and wrestling, but he's not good at it. So all in all, it's going to be predominantly a striking matchup, and I think Jacoby wins that. Just technique over strength any day. So the pick is going to be Jacoby. The bet is going to end up being Jacoby. Spent way too much time on Da Un Jung. Give me Jacoby. Next fight of the night is one that has me a little nervous, in all honesty. We have Bill Algeo at -170 going up against Herbert Burns at +145. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 -140. Under 2.5 at +110. Let's start with Herbert Burns. First and foremost, yes, it's Gilbert Burns' little brother. He has very good jujitsu, of course, being Gilbert Burns' little brother. His wrestling's not bad; it's pretty good, actually. I did not realize how good his wrestling was. We have not seen him in 2 years, so I don't like that. He has taken quite a hiatus. And the other thing I don't like is we have to watch him at weigh-ins because Daniel Pineda, he missed weight by like 4 pounds, came in with sunglasses, did not look good, gassed out in the second round. Also, the Evan Dunham fight, the fight before that, he missed weight. And he didn't look he won early, but Evan Dunham is an aging vet. They kind of just gave him a win. But that's not a good look, in all honesty. So he does slow down a little bit in fights. He might have a little bit of a cardio issue. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. I don't know what it's going to be like considering we haven't seen him in 2 years. Also, he's pretty hittable. He gets hit more than he dishes out. So he's predominantly a wrestler grappler, in all honesty. He will show knockout wins against, Nate Landwehr. It's a crazy flying knee. But you look at the rest of his record, it's decisions, choke, decision, submission. He has 1 knockout. It was a Nate Landwehr one. All the rest are literally by submission or decision. So he is a wrestler grappler. He'll take you down and he'll tap you out, or he'll take you down and hold you down. On the flip side, we have Bill Algeo. And this is the part that concerns me. I like Bill Algeo. I think he's super fun to watch. The problem with my boy Bill is that he has good striking. He is a black belt and is pretty good on the ground as well. He's very tough to choke out. He used to get choked out early on in his career and then decided, I don't like doing that, and then never got choked out again after his first 2 losses. My issue with Bill Algeo is his takedown defense. He's rocking a 53% takedown defense. I don't like that at all. Even before the UFC, he fought some great guys. Shane Burgos later on in the card is nasty. He's really good. He lost to Jared Gordon, who's very good. Ricardo Ramos is very good. Ricardo Lamas on short notice was pretty good. He's since retired. So all in all, Bill is a good striker, has fought good fighters. He has good jiu-jitsu, really high volume. This dude does not stop throwing, and he's super hard to finish. The issue is the wrestling. He cannot wrestle at all. He has a great get-up game, but it makes every single one of his fights greasy. Look at the last few wins here. We have against Brito was a decision, and it was close. We had Spike Carlisle was a decision, and it was close. Like, he will lose the first round. I guarantee you he loses the first round to Herbert Burns. I guarantee it. But that's every single one of his fights. People wrestle him. They take him down, they hold him down. He gets up, they take him down, they hold it down. He gets up, it gasses them out. And then in the second round, they do it for like the first 2 minutes. And then they can't take him down anymore because they're too tired because Bill keeps popping up. And then the third round, he takes over. So this has split decision written all over it. Like, I would just bet a split for every single one of Bill Algeo fights. It's just a matter of which way is it going to go. God, I think Bill is the better fighter. I will pick Bill in this circumstance, but can I bet him at -170? There is value on Herbert Burns. I don't think Herbert Burns is good, but I think the matchup is good for him. And +145. I'm going to watch that line. If it gets any bigger, I'll like it. If I'm betting anything, it's probably the over. Or if I'm getting real greedy, I might bet Herbert by split decision, see what that line is, and try to make money. But the pick is Bill. The bet would end up being the over 2.5. I don't think either one are going to finish each other. Then that takes us to the next fight of the night, which is actually one of the best fights. I don't know how this is a prelim at all. We have Ricky Simone at +135 going up against Jack Shore at -170. Over 2.5 is -220. Under 2.5 at +180. Excuse me. Let's start with Ricky Simone. Ricky's cool, man. I like Ricky. He's a good wrestler. Very, very good wrestler. It's a lot of good wins on his record. You see a shiny 19-3 record. Well, who has he fought? I mean, he's at American Top Team, which is a good camp. At Rafael Sanzao, I know he's older now, but still, winning by knockout is good for Ricky. Brian Kelleher is decent. You look at Ray Borg is decent. Ronnie Yaya is decent. Montel Jackson's very good. Merab Delishvili. Merab is literally ranked like number 4 in the world right now, so that aged tremendously. And you look at his losses. He lost to Anderson Dos Santos. I mean, it is what it is. He got caught in a choke. Rob Font. Rob Font is also like top 10 in the division. And then Uriah Faber hit him with, you got caught. It was just a young kid, and he got caught with the overhand from a vet. Like, no one saw that coming. So all in all, he has decent losses. He has decent wins. He has great wrestling. His striking is developing. It's not good, but it is getting better. And that's why I said it was good for him to get a knockout against Rafael Assunção, because his striking, he just showed improvement there. His cardio checks out. His takedown defense, I was surprised to see he was at 72% takedown defense, since he's such a good wrestler. But he's always the one shooting the takedown. So it did intrigue me that there, the C72% takedown defense, because he doesn't have much off his back. Don't get me wrong. He's a good striker and everything. A good wrestler, and he is a good jiu-jitsu practitioner. But it's predominantly it's not off of his back. It's when he's on top. A lot of these guys are really good on the ground, but they're good on top, not off their back. Same can kind of be said for Jack Shore. He's also a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's a lot better on top than off of his back. But he's hard to take down. Timur Valiev was able to take him down multiple times. Jack did show good sweeps. He loves the butterfly guard, which is pretty rare to see these days. Jack is good striking. It's improving. It used to be a little shaky, but it is that last fight. It looked phenomenal, his last fight. He has really good cardio. The dude can go for days. He's 27 years old. And that like 25 to 28 range, you see a massive jumps and improvement every time. And last time we saw it in his striking. Who knows what we're going to see this go around. Again, I said he's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. He has 84% takedown defense. So you have 2 good wrestlers going at it. So it'd be very interesting to see. You see the shiny 16-0 record, which is kind of making more people bet on him. The thing I would want to see, Ricky has fought the better competition. His last fight against Timur Valiev, that's a very, very good win for Jack Shore. Great win. Gutted it out. Tough fight. He needed that. That was great. Win before that, he took on short notice against Ludovic. Fight before that, Hunter Azure is good. People are underrating how good Hunter is. I know it went to a split. I thought Jack clearly won, but it is what it is. Aaron Phillips, not the greatest. Hernandez cut. So was Aaron Phillips. So his first 2 were cakewalks. And then over in Cage Warriors, it's not like he was fighting killers either. So he does need to fight a lot better competition. So it's good that he's getting it done now. God, I don't know. This is such a good fight. Great wrestler against great wrestler. Okay striking against okay striking. Good jiu-jitsu against good jiu-jitsu. It's going to be close, but I do agree with Vegas, and I would say Shore is the favorite. I will pick him to win. The bet, I'd probably take the over. It's getting kind of juiced at -220, and Jack is a finisher generally. But Ricky's just looked a lot better. You're not just going to go out there and finish Ricky Simone easily. If you do, God, Jack's a killer. But I'd probably just bet Shore or the over. You know what? I'll just bet Jack Shore. Better value. You got to chase the money. So the pick is going to be Jack. The bet's going to be Jack, but don't throw it in a ton of parlays. All right. Then the next fight of the night is your prelim headliner. We have Punahele Soriano going up against Dolce Lungiambula. Dolce is a +220 dog. Jesus. Puna is a -260 favorite. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 -150. Under 1.5 at +120. I don't even know who to start with here. Let's start with Dolce. Dolce's not. I don't think Dolce's that good. He is okay striking, and he will have a 4-inch reach advantage here. That's big. His cardio is bad. It's not suspect. It's bad. We know it's bad. He does slow down more as the fight goes. You can back him up too if you're pressuring him, especially when he's tired. Generally, he likes to go forward, but the moment he gets tired or gets hit with something, he does start to back up and kind of clam up a little bit. I said he has a 4-inch reach advantage, but he is hittable. That's the issue. He does get hit more than he dishes out. He does have some power on him, don't get me wrong, and he is generally pretty durable. I believe he's only been knocked out once, and it was against Magomed Ankalaev, up a weight class, so it is what it is. But I think he has a little bit of a suspect record, in my opinion. He fought Cody Brundage. He looked fine to begin, and then he ended up getting caught with a guillotine because he gassed out. Marc-Andre Barrio beat the shit out of him, just overwhelmed him with volume. Marcus Perez is not that good. So if that one didn't age well. Magomed, it is what it is. He should have got knocked out, probably should have got knocked out earlier. Daquan Townsend, not that good in cut. The rest of these guys, I mean, I have no idea who this guy is. He fought in EFC that's 16-3. He could be good. I have no idea. But outside of that, I mean, Alan Badeau's in the UFC. Alan Badeau is not good. It looks like he was 6-0, but he's not good at all. He's been cut, actually. 7-7. 6-1, 4-0. I've never heard of any of these guys. It's very weird. I don't really like his record. All the names that I recognize, he's lost to, outside of Daquan Townsend and Alan Badeau that I know are god awful and have been cut, and Marcus Perez, who is god awful and has been cut. So I don't know. A little shaky to me. Just the only reason I was highlighting that is because a lot of people are on the Dolce side, just dog chasing. I don't think this is the spot. I don't like Puna as a minus 260 favorite. Don't get me wrong. But he also has pretty good striking. He also has pretty good power. His cardio, he slows down, but he doesn't gas like Dolce does. He's durable himself. He's never been finished. And he likes to move forward. And I mentioned, if Dolce gets hit with something, you can't get him to back up and kind of get a little nervous in there. And Puna hits damn hard and he likes to go forward. So that's not a good look there, especially in the later rounds. He has 2 losses. He's coming off back-to-back losses. But let's break those down because Brendan Allen is a good fighter. Brendan Allen had a huge reach advantage like Dolce does. Jabbed him to death. Brendan Allen has great cardio. And was able to just kind of outlast him. But Puna looked okay. It was his first career loss. He only had 8 pro fights at that point. So we'll give him a pass there. Then the next fight against Nick Maximoff, I thought, okay, he got taken down like 11 times. I thought his wrestling defense looked phenomenal. Yes, he got taken down 11 times, but you have no idea how many takedowns he stuffed. Like, he stuffed a shit ton of takedowns. And he is a wrestling background. He wrestled D2 or something like that at one of the high-level D2 schools. So his wrestling sneaky good. His jiu-jitsu, apparently he's a judo black belt. Apparently he has a little bit of a submission game as well. We never see it because he hits so damn hard and just knocks everyone out. In fact, every single one of his wins outside of one have been by knockout. He has one that's a rear naked choke. So there's 2 that's rear naked choke. So at the end of the day, I will say Puna's probably, the striking is a wash. I think they're both the same level striking. It's just, I would say Puna's gas tank is a little better, which is a weird statement talking about Punahele. And his wrestling is better and his jiu-jitsu is better. So I think Puna is better. So the pick is going to be Puna. I don't feel great about that price, though. That's not a good price. So don't throw it in too many parlays. Then the next fight is another one that scares the hell out of me. We have Lucky Lauren Murphy as a plus 145 dog going up against Miesha Tate at minus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 300. Under 2.5 plus 235. Let's start with our girl Miesha, because she's the reason I'm nervous. One, I don't like her at minus 170. Yeah, she came back and looked great against literally 47-year-old Marion Renault. But then she got absolutely killed by Ketlin Vieira. She should not have been in there with her. Here's the problem with Miesha. She is from a different era. Miesha's not a good wrestler. She's really not. She just tries to bully you with size, and that's about it. She's not a good wrestler. But back in the day, there was no wrestling in women's MMA. Look at Ronda Rousey. She could take you down, and that's all you needed was to be able to. Even, today, Tayla Santos won that fight against Valentina by wrestling. you wrestle. Like, it's women's MMA is a little behind where the men's is right now. And back in the day, especially, Misha took advantage of her era. Her striking has improved. I will give it that she's been improved in her striking. Her wrestling, again, is a little overrated. Her jiu-jitsu is fine. It's not good. It's not bad. It's there. It's fine for where she's at. Her cardio is good. That's a good quality to have. But there are a litany of red flags. First and foremost, the biggest one, she's never made 125 before. Misha liked to be the size bully. There used to only be one weight class in women's MMA, and then you had the straw weight, then you had two. But at the end of the day, she was a weight bully because people had to come up to 135. And that's why her wrestling looked so effective. We've never seen her at 125. Red flag. She is retired before. We didn't see her after the Rocky Pennington fight. We didn't see her for 5 years? Red flag. She also is going on record saying how bad her weight cut is because she got a boob job. She said she's carrying around an extra 4 pounds. So she has to cut 4 extra pounds, and it's tough on her. Red flag. The fact that, God, she has so many red flags, man. I don't want to bet her as a favorite, but on the flip side, man, how do you bet Lucky Lauren Murphy? First and foremost, her schedule is shaky. I know she just fought for a title. I know she has some decent losses on her record, but her wins, man. Like, for instance, the win against Andrea Lee, I don't think she won that fight. I think she was gifted that. The fight against Joanne Wood, I had money on her. I needed her to win, and she did, but I don't think she actually won that fight. I mean, the other wins against, I called her name Delma. I forgot what her actual name was. Lilia Shaparova or something like that. Came in on short notice. Lauren was able to dispose of her. She's 38 years old. Roxanne Modafari, again, at the end of her career. Mara Barella, I think she was just recently cut. She has losses to anyone that's decent. So Sarge Eubanks is decent, beat her. Caitlin Chukagian, decent, beat her. Liz Carmouche, decent, beat her. Sarah McMahon, decent, beat her. And then, of course, Valentina. So she beats all of these lower level girls. Then she gets some real shaky split decisions against people that are okay. And now she's fighting Misha, who is okay. So I don't know, man. I do think Lauren's the better striker. But Misha's not good at wrestling, but neither is Lauren. I think Misha probably has a wrestling advantage. Lauren's cardio, she doesn't gas, but she does slow down a little bit, in all honesty. She will have a 2-inch reach advantage, so that's nice for her, especially because Ketlin just jabbed Misha to death. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. I think Misha is the better fighter. She just has like 8 different red flags, so I don't trust her at all. So the pick is Misha. The bet, I would just bet the over. Neither one of these girls are finishers. So I'd pick Misha, but I would just bet. I would eat the chalk and do the -300. Just throw it in a parlay, call it a day. You can't choose a side here. All right. Then the next fight of the night next fight is one that I think might win fight of the night. Probably the odds-on favorite outside of the main event and the Jack Shore fight. We are looking at Shane Burgos at -190 going up against Charles Jourdain at +160. Over/under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is -160. Under 2.5 at +130. Let's start with Hurricane Shane. He's good, man. I think he is good wrestling. He doesn't use it. He did wrestle D1, and he is a very good wrestler, but he only has like 1 or 2 takedowns in the UFC. He prefers to strike. I don't like Chuck Liddell. He's kind of like a wrestle boxer. He uses his good wrestling to keep it on the feet, and boy, is he good on the feet. He doesn't have a crap ton of power, but he has volume for days. In my opinion, if you get like 4 significant strikes per minute, I think that's pretty standard and pretty average. Sometimes I'll say people have high volume and they have like 5 significant strikes. They're throwing a lot more. This dude averages 7.8 significant strikes. I don't think I've ever seen anything higher outside of, I think Jeff Molina may have more. But outside of that, man, no one throws more than Hurricane Shane. He throws and throws and throws. He is almost hittable. It's scary that he dishes out 7%, or 7.8 significant strikes per minute, but gets hit with like 6. That's concerning. He gets hit a shit ton. I mean, his picture is literally him beat up. He does have a tendency to block punches with his face. That's a little bit of a red flag, but he will have a 6 inch reach advantage here. That's big. That's really, really big. Um, and even though he gets hit a ton and he has been knocked out by like Edson Barboza, Calvin Cater, it's usually an accumulation. It's not a one hitter quitter. You put him out. You've been beating the shit out of him for 3 rounds and eventually his body just shuts off. But that's tough to do. It's good cardio. That 6-inch reach advantage is massive. That's very, very big, especially because his opponent in Charles Jourdain prefers to strike. So this is probably going to be a striking affair. And the other thing is Charles does not have good wrestling. He only has like a 55% takedown defense. And he also doesn't do any sort of offensive wrestling. I like Charles. He's only 26. So again, we could see some crazy improvement. I kind of saw it his last fight against Lando Venata, in all honesty. He looked very good. He looked a lot better than he usually does. I'm telling you, this 25 to 28 range, I don't know what happens, but something clicks of these people. So you got to watch out for it. I do prefer Shane here, but again, Charles does scare me because he does fit that class and he is showing improvement. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's good on the ground. He just can't wrestle. So I definitely don't expect him to take Shane down here. I mean, he won his last fight by submission against Lando. So he showed that he's good on the ground. He's durable as hell as well. I know he got choked up by Julian Erosa. That was a battle of attrition and he ultimately lost. But his losses, man, TJ Laramie is good. No one realized how good TJ Laramie is, but he's very, very good. Desmond Green was okay. But that was also up a weight class for Charles. Andre Feely's okay. It's not bad. And it was a split, close fight. Julian Erosa's not bad. He has no chin, but he's not bad. He's not a bad fighter. And all in all, he has no bad losses. Andre Yoel's an okay win. Banana's an okay win. Rojo is all right. Dunghoon Choi. He doesn't have a lot of great wins. Burgos has definitely fought the better guys, fighting Josh Emmett, fighting Calvin Cater, fighting Edson Barboza, like Makwan Americani. He's fought the head and shoulders, Billy Q, the better fighters, 110%. But Jourdain's game, man, great cardio, durable too. I don't know, man. He also has high volume. So this is going to be a war. This is probably going to be fight of the night, even over the main event. The pick is going to be Burgos because it's going to be a stand-up affair and Burgos throws more. But Jourdain is going to make you sweat the entire time. So the pick is Burgos. The bet is going to end up being Burgos. Just sit back and enjoy. If you don't want to bet it, I get it because it's just going to be fun to watch. All right, then the next fight is another one that could be fun to watch. We have Matt Danger Schnell as a plus 210 dog. Fuck out of here. Against Suma Durji at minus 250, over 2.5 plus 110, under 2.5 minus 140. Dude, my boy Matt's being disrespected. I love Matt Schnell. One of my favorite fighters is Brandon Royval, so I did have to go against him last fight. But I'm back on the Danger train, baby. He has good striking. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He does have some shaky weigh-in sometimes, so make sure you look out for that. All in all, he has pretty good losses. I mean, Brandon Royval is good. Bontarine is good. Pantoja is good. Hector Sandoval is good. Rob Font, good. Tim Elliott and the Ultimate Fighter, good. So he's only loses to great fighters, in all honesty. He's fast, man. He's super, super, super fast. He has really good striking. ATT, great place to be. He does that little like side eye thing. I hate that. I think Demir Ismagulov was doing that his last fight, but these kids are winning doing whatever that side eye thing is. But yeah, he doesn't have power. So he's good on the feet. He's super, super fast, hits you a shit ton, but isn't usually putting you out because he doesn't have power. But look at it. Luis Smoka, submission. Jordan Espinosa, submission. He's good on the ground as well. It's just he might be a little chinny. If you look at his losses, you look at he got choked out by Royval, but Pantoja knocked him out quickly. Sandoval knockout. Rob Font knocks no one out when he knocked Rob Font knocked him out. That was at 135. This is at 125. So, and although he hits you a ton, he is almost hittable himself. He just barely dishes you out more than he takes in. So that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, main thing I want to focus on is that he's not a wrestler. He can't wrestle. But the stand-up affair with Sue will be closer than people are giving credit. They just think that Sue's going to come out and knock him out. But I don't know if that's the case, man. I do think Sue Madurgi is good. I do think he has good striking. I do know that he falls in that same age group. He's 26, so he could be improving. He will have a 2-inch reach advantage. He has a 77% takedown defense, which isn't bad. He loves to move forward. Um, his counters are pretty good, man. He likes for you to push the pace so that he can counter you, and that's exactly what Matt Schnell's going to do. My concern is Sue's schedule. Zaruk Adeshev is not that good. He's really not. Malcolm Gordon, not that good. I don't know who this Andre guy is, but I know that he's not that good. Louis Smoka, not that good. And he got a loss by armbar. Haben Ma, no idea who that is, but it does look like he got submitted. His other loss, Abdul Aliyev, don't know who that is, but it looks like he got submitted. And his very first loss against Yusuke Ohara, don't know who that is, but it looks like he got submitted. He has 4 losses, all by submission. So we know what the clear problem is. Has no ground game. But on the flip side, he has 77% takedown defense, and Matt can't wrestle. So he hasn't beat the greatest competition, and when it hits the ground, he gets tapped out. But Matt can't wrestle. And Sue's very hard to hit, and his great counters, and is perfect for Matt. God, the pick is going to be Sue, just because you never trust a non-wrestler to wrestle. I learned this over and over and over. Do not do that. But with Sean Strickland, for instance, this is the Sean Strickland fight all over again. The only difference is Sean Strickland was a minus 120 favorite at the end of the day. Matt Schnell is a plus 210 dog. So if people were pouring money in on Sean Strickland, where they're thinking, well, it could be close on the feet, but he's probably going to get knocked out. But if he wrestles, he will tap him out. That's the exact same thing as Matt Schnell and Sue Maderji. So if you're giving me plus 210 on that same thought process, I'm taking it. The pick is going to be Sue, but the bet would end up being Matt. Too much value. All right. Speaking of dogs, we have Jing Liang Elite at plus 145, going up against Muslim Solikov at minus 170, over 2.5 minus 145, under 2.5 plus 115. Let's start with the Leech, man. I like the Leech. He's a cool guy, super nice guy. They say he's the nicest guy in the UFC between him and Stephen Thompson. He's 34, so if he's going to make a push, he has to do it now, especially coming off of a loss. We all know him as the guy that got choked out by Khamzat a year ago. His striking's good. His power, he hits decently hard. His wrestling's okay. It's not that good. We did see Neil Magny utilize a heavy wrestling game to win. We saw Khamzat take him down and then choke him out. He lost to Jake Matthews, who wrestled him. So wrestling's a little shaky, in all honesty, now that I'm looking at it. A little shaky. He has a tendency to lose to wrestlers. His volume's okay. All in all, he's kind of a generalist. He's all right everywhere. It's just he's a little bit of an issue with his wrestling. On the flip side, Muslim can't wrestle, so there's going to be a stand-up affair. Muslim also has pretty good striking. What is it? The King of Kung Fu is his name. Difference is, I didn't like that Leech was 34. Muslim's 38. So he's very, very fast. He has that like Kung Fu karate style, very hard to hit. But at some point, as Stephen Thompson is learning, age is undefeated, and eventually you slow down a little bit. He has 80% takedown defense, which is totally irrelevant because the Leech is not going to take him down. And with that Kung Fu style, he doesn't like to get hit, so you can back him up. So Leech is going to have to pressure him a little bit. So you're looking at striker versus striker. You're looking at someone with a little more power. My issue in the Leech, the issue is Muslim is so technical and very good, kind of like Izzy-like, but does not throw. He drives me crazy. I hate betting Muslim Solikov fights because he does not throw. He only wants a counter. And if you're not throwing, he is very, very, very low volume. The Francisco Trinaldo fight was interesting. It was a lot closer than it had to be. Zaleski, I thought Zaleski won that fight, but they ended up giving Muslim a split. Staropoli is not good, and that was a little closer than it had to be. Nordine Talib's not that good, but he knocked him out and did what he was supposed to do. It's like same with whoever Ricky Rainey is. Melvin Gillard was like 80 years old at that point. So at the end of the day, his first loss in the UFC was by submission. So God, he has 2 losses and they're both by submission. So he's a bad ground game. Good striking, just low volume. Leech has probably a little worse striking, but more power, more pressure, and throws more. So I don't know. It's going to be a really greasy, close, probably split decision fight. So if we're going to a split, I always take the dog. So the pick is going to be Leach. The bet is going to be Leach. Next fight of the night is one that's very, very confusing to me because I don't know where this is taking place. Tapology says it's at, look at it. It says it's at flyweight. However, the UFC is saying it's at strawweight, and that makes a difference because we have Michelle Waterson at plus 275 going up against Amanda Lemos at minus 130, over 2.5 minus 210, under 2.5 plus 170. That's the issue, is the weight, because Amanda Lemos has fought all the way up at 135, 145 on the regional scene. She's a big girl that cuts down. She like kills herself to make 115, and she's a size bully. She hits extremely hard. She has very good striking. She has surprisingly good volume. She'll have a 3-inch reach advantage here. She's supposedly okay on the ground. Just got standing arm triangle choked by Jessica Andrade last fight. That was peculiar. It's never been done before. So that was, she might have just got caught. 88% takedown defense. So she wants to stand, and she's going to stand because she's very, very tough to get down. She does slow down. She has a little bit of a gas tank issue. She doesn't gas, but she does slow a lot. That Angela Hill fight, it was a split for her. I thought Angela won, but it is what it is. Mazerat Ruiz should not be in the UFC. So that win doesn't look good. Liviana Souza has not looked good forever and has been cut. Mizuki Inoue was not good, has been cut. Miranda Granger was not good, has been cut. Leslie Smith is not good, but this was at 135. So, all in all, she has not good wins in the UFC outside of Angela Hill, but that was a sketchy one. It has a really weird loss, and now she's fighting Michelle Waterson. So it's very interesting. She's also 35 years old, so that probably attributes to some of her slowing down. So that'll be pretty interesting here. On the flip side, Michelle Waterson, this fight concerns me because she has good striking. But she had that long layoff because of some injury that she thought she would never fight again. So the fact that she's back and fighting a killer is kind of odd to me. She's also, I talked about Lemos at 35. Waterson's 36. She's also hittable. She gets hit more than she dishes out, even though the karate hottie has it like karate don't get hit style. She gets hit. She tries to mix in wrestling. It's a great strategy. She just can't wrestle. She's not good at it. She's great game plan, just can't really complete it because of lack of talent in that department. And you can back her up easily with that. All of these karate style, kung fu style, they do back up quite a bit. So Amanda is going to look like the aggressor here. My major concern is that weight class. Where is this fight happening? Because if it is at 125, I just mentioned Lemos is fought up at 145. Michelle Waterson is a small straw weight. So going up to 125 is not a good look, especially against a bigger girl. Michelle Waterson has fought at anim weight before. She has fought at 105 pounds. So Amanda Lemos could chop an arm off and not make 105. So she's going to be a lot smaller. Like Waterson's going to be a lot smaller. We have not seen her since the Marina Rodriguez fight over a year ago. And again, she had a debilitating injury where she had to drop out of a fight against Amanda Hebos. So this doesn't seem good for Michelle. I am on the Amanda side. I don't like the odds. The odds are way off. It's a lot closer. They're disrespecting Michelle Waterson, but we don't know what she's going to look like after this injury, and I can't trust her. So the pick is going to be Lemos. The bet, Waterson's never been knocked out, so I guess I would lean the over. There is a first time for everything. God, I don't know, man. I just want to stay complete away from this fight. I don't want to touch this fight. If I had to, I would bet the over. I'd bet the over, if anything. And then that takes us to the main event of the evening. If you have not yet, again, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that bell so you always see when the new videos are up. But again, here we go into the main event, one that's been highly anticipated for months now. We have Yair Rodriguez as a plus 140 dog going up against Brian Ortega at minus 165. Over under set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is minus 105. Under 4.5, minus 125. Let's start with Ortega. Ortega is phenomenal on the ground. We all know this. T-City, baby, Triangle City. He is nasty on the ground. I would say packs a punch, but I mean, he knocked out Frankie Yeager easily like that, but he's not really knocking anyone else out. He knocked out Clay Guida, Thiago Tavares. I mean, if you're old, he'll knock you out. Literally. Clay Guida, like in his 40s. Thiago Tavares, like in his 40s. Frankie Hager in his 40s. If you're in your 40s, you're in trouble. He's going to knock you out. Otherwise, he's not really knocking anyone else out. Literally. So I don't think he packs a ton of power. I think that's a little overrated. Also, his cardio is great. He does have good cardio. He'll go for days, and he's durable as all hell. The fact that he didn't get finished by Volkanovski after he couldn't get up, I don't know why they didn't stop the fight, but they let it keep going, and he did make it all 5 rounds. Max Holloway beat the shit out of him, and the doctor did stop him there. But at the end of the day, the dude's durable and has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. I just think it's a little sketchy. I think he's a little sketchy. This is a guy that had to come from behind a lot. He came from behind to beat Moicano. He came from behind to beat Clay Guida. That's not a good look. And also, let's not forget he had a little bit of a steroid issue to start his career. So that's a concern. All in all, his wrestling is my issue. You can be a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner, but if they don't take you down and you can't take them down, you're forced to strike. Everyone talks about how great his striking looked against Zombie. Korean Zombie's also 37. He loves these old, or 39. I think he was 37 when he fought him. He loves these old fighters. Like, I don't understand. You have to be over the age of 37 for him to fight you. I don't think he's that good. I do think T-City is good, but I think he's a little overrated when you look at his record. He's just beating up on old men after old man after old man. They're all old. Diego Brandao is not young. Cub Swanson's not young. What is going on here? He's a little overrated, in my opinion. I cannot say he's a great striker because he beat up Zombie one time. That doesn't do it for me. On the flip side, I can say Yair is a good striker because we see his unorthodox style left and right. His last fight was against Max Holloway. It was a very, very close fight. It was a lot greasier than I needed it to be. His wrestling does concern me. He is not a good wrestler by any means, but he does have really good striking. His jiu-jitsu is good. He's a black belt. He's not a T-City black belt. Don't get me wrong. There's levels to this shit. So he's in some danger if he goes down to the ground with Ortega, but he's no slouch by any means. He will have a 2-inch reach advantage, which I think is big. And his cardio seemed to check out. He won rounds 4 and 5 against Max Holloway. And that's tough to do. So all in all, that was a war. I think Max is better than Ortega, especially on the feet. And that was a close fight there. And the thing with me is he throws really, really heavy leg kicks too. So the thing with that Ortega does not seem to check. So at the end of the day, I don't think Ortega has the fight to get this fight to the ground. I don't think Ortega has the wrestling to get this fight to the ground. If this is a stand-up fight, I think it's clearly Yair. And Yair is the dog. So I don't understand these odds. I don't understand what's happening right now. So at the end of the day, Yair has lost to Frankie Yeager. He lost to Max Holloway, 2 good losses. And I don't know who this guy was all the way back in 2012. But his loss to Frankie Yeager was because he got wrestled and bullied. Ortega can't do that. Max Holloway outstruck him and wrestled him a little. Max Holloway took him down. Can't do that here. Ortega can't wrestle, and Ortega's not that good of a striker. So the pick is Yair, the bet is Yair. Let's get money, baby. And that's UFC ABC 3, a.k.a. UFC Long Island, a.k.a. Fight Night Rodriguez versus Ortega, whatever you want to call it. Just sit back, enjoy the show. Know that it starts a little earlier in Long Island, so do not forget that. For whatever reason, they're starting this card really early. And the card next week starts super early, too. 11 a.m. for this fight card, the prelim start. So make sure you're up for that. And I think the main card is like 11 a.m. for UFC London next week. But at the end of the day, this is a phenomenal card. It's a tough card to bet. Great card to watch, baby. Let's get it.